note too, everyone, we are recording today's training. What will happen is once this recording is set to go, usually takes about a day or so, I'll go in and send this over to you all for that. What we're then going to see is we're going to see the steps for setting up your new section. We'll also talk about how you're going to go in and get started with creating your first page. I'm going to demo some of the cool things that you're going to be able to do with that. And at that point, what I'm going to go in and do is give you all some time so you can work on your new sections on your website. From there, we're going to talk about adding additional pages. We're going to see how to go in and to work with that. And finally, we're going to have a chance to see how you can link a Google Calendar to your department calendar on the website. Now, just remember, everyone, questions are encouraged. To ask questions, remember what you want to do is you want to open up the chat window. Depending on the version of GoToTraining that you're using, that is accessed either by clicking on a little bubble on your control panel, or there'll be a button on there that'll say chat. So with that, everybody, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start by looking at Green Tech High School's music department site, or the music department page, I should say. And that's the really cool thing with sections and pages. They really can be like mini websites in of themselves. So that's something pretty cool. So let's visit the music department page. So what I'm doing is I'm going over to About Us. And what I'll do is I'm going to select music department. So what we start off with here, what we see first is an introduction page. So one of the things that is being shared is a little bit of the history of Green Tech's music department. So we see that here. So it's mentioning that the band has participated in different competitions, of course, been in the Rose Parade, which is pretty cool. And also some of the programs that are being offered are being shared about, as well as the staff. Now, one of the things that we see here as we look at this page is we see how you are able to use different types of content blocks. And ultimately, content blocks are really what's going to be key to allowing you to give these types of pages a custom look, something we'll be seeing how to go in and do today. Now, after the homepage, we also have the music department section also has a calendar. So this is cool. You can share major department events. So in this case, for the music department, we got some marching band competitions, drumline editions, of course, the winter concert that is coming up as well. So this is something here that can be added through the site. Or if you use Google Calendars, what you're going to be able to do is you can actually use, you can link the Google Calendar you've set up to your department page calendar. And what's cool is you can allow for your Google Calendar to take care of updating that the calendar you have on your department section calendar as well. So it's something pretty cool. And it looks like we have one more page here. So we see where it says classes offered. So we look at this, and what we also see is some more content blocks being used. So one in particular, we have a table that is being used here as well. That is a great way to be able to share information. If you're looking to create like a PTA page or a board of directors page, this is a great way to keep those minutes and agendas organized. You can actually link documents right within the table, which is awesome. And of course, we also have a photo to go with that as well. So ultimately, everyone, we see there's lots of cool things that we're going to be able to do when we are going in and actually setting up these department pages. So now, everyone, what I want to go in and do is I want to give you all some time to get signed into your accounts on your school's website. And I do strongly encourage that. And what we'll do is once we've gone in and signed in, we're going to go in and start with our initial setup of our new page. Now, remember to sign in, everyone. What you want to do first is pull up the sign-in window. Now, the cool thing is you can pretty much do this from any page on your website. To pull up the sign-in window, though, the key you press just depends on the type of computer you're using. So just to kind of recap this, remember, if you're going in, you're using a PC, To pull up the sign-in window, you're just going to want to go in and double-click the Control key. On the other hand, if you're using a Mac, instead what you'll want to do is you'll want to go in and double-click Command. And as soon as you've done that, you'll have the sign-in window appear. So everybody, please feel free to take 4 minutes to go in and to get signed in. As you're signing in, just let me know too if there's any questions I can help with. We'll continue here very, very shortly. All right, everybody, just about 2 minutes and we'll continue on our way. Please let me know if there's anything I can help with in the meantime. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and get started. So we want to remember that once we've gone in and signed in, we have the toolbar, and that, of course, gives us access to be able to edit everything we need to edit. Now, in this case, we're going to start by jumping right into creating our new section. Now, we want to remember that anytime we're going in and we're creating a new section on the website from scratch, we're going to always start by going first over to the main menu button. Then we're going to go to sections. Now, what I'm going to say that I'm going to create here for the example is that Green Tech needs a new enrollment department section. Now, as we look at these different categories, one thing that's just important to note is that you can absolutely use the submenu that appears to access existing sections to edit them. That's something, though, you'd probably only do in cases where you don't have that direct link. And for the most part, these different categories that we see, these will all, with some exceptions, do the exact same things. So in this case, I'm going to go in and add our new enrollment department section. I'm going to add that as part of educational support. So what I do to go in and to add this on, I'm just going to select educational support. And I start just by going in and clicking add department. First thing I have to do is I need to go in and just add on the department name. So in this case, I'm going to type in enrollment and I click save. Now, when we see this next screen here where we have the two buttons, add department, edit the section, that does mean that we've created the new section successfully. So everybody, I want to give you all time to complete this first step. So let's take a minute here. And then afterwards, what we're going to do is we're going to navigate to our new section so we can start working on this together. Please let me know in the meantime if there's any questions I can help with. Hi, everyone. We have some great questions here. So Jason mentions, and Jason, that's actually a good point. Your site may have different categories for sections. This is something that definitely varies from site. One thing just to keep in mind, with very few exceptions, the different categories that you have under sections will all do the exact same things. A great place, just to go in and to make everything easier. A lot of cases, a good place to add new sections, and I often use this, is just part of extra sections as well. So that can be a good alternative if you're not seeing educational support. Hector asks, when creating these departments and sections, will they be automatically published to site? Great question. So initially, yes, they are live. However, one thing that doesn't happen, so when you create a new section like we have here, it's not going to automatically be linked to the navigation. That is always something that's an additional step. And one step, too, that I always suggest is kind of the last step in the process of creating a new section. So that it will be something today that I will show right at the end of the training. But definitely, so it won't automatically be linked to the navigation, though. Jason, Hector, thank you for sending in those questions. Those are both excellent questions. All right, everybody. So now that we've gone in and we've had a chance to go in and to create our first section, it is time to navigate to that section. I want to show you a little bit of a shortcut here. So absolutely, you can click edit this section and navigate back to it. There's an easier way. So what I've always found is easiest is you just go back to the main menu button, back to sections, then back to the category that you just added to. And I say this is easier because in this case, we click on our new section. It is much more direct in bringing you to this page. And this, my friends, is exactly where we want to be. Our next step, we created our section, but in order for us to add content, what we have to do afterwards is add our page. Everybody, let's go ahead and take another minute to allow everybody to navigate over to this page. Let me know in the meantime if you have any questions, and I will be happy to help. All right, everyone. Our next step is now that we've created the section, in order for us to add content to it, we have to add pages. So that's what we're going to do first. And what I'm going to start with creating with this is kind of a initial introduction page, if you will. So to add that, I just click that add page button that's in the upper right corner of the screen. And then we see how we have all these different options. So we're going to see here how we can give this section, it can have its own calendar, have its own photo album as well. But what I'm interested in using is the page editor, and the page editor, that is actually the default option. So that's important to note. Wherever it says other on this menu, that is really the page editor. So I don't need to change anything. I just need to add the title of the page. So in this case, I'm going to title this as the home page. It'll be the home page for enrollment. Now, what happens from here is the moment that I go in and I click create page, our new page is created, and then right away, we're brought right into the page editor. All right, everybody, let's go in. Let's take another minute here to allow everyone to add on that first page. Then I'm going to show you some cool stuff that you're going to be able to add on with the page editor. Please let me know in the meantime, everybody, if there's anything I can assist with. All right, everybody, let's get started with building out this page. I'm going to show you some neat stuff that you're going to be able to add with the page editor. Once we finish here, I'm going to give you time so you can work on building out that new page of your own. And that way, it's a good opportunity to ask any questions that you have as well. Now, my first step for this is I'm going to go in and actually start by adding the enrollment department introduction. So in this case here, what I'm going to do is just going to go to where this is stored. So in this case, the introduction has already been written out. What I'm going to do is just copy this. Now, when you are going in and you're pasting content into the page editor, there's something to note. You know, a lot of us, we paste content in by right-clicking. You will notice, though, that when I right-click here, there's no option to paste. All good. We can still paste content in, but what we want to go in and use is we want to use our keyboard commands. So to do that, what I want to do is if I'm using a PC to paste my content in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Control V. And whenever you're using a Mac, to paste content in, you'll press Command V. So these are the same keyboard commands you would use when you're pasting into an email. So I'm pressing this here. I press Command V, and I get to see we've added on our first little bit of content. Now remember, if you highlight over the text, you get all these different formatting options. You have options to change the font, as well as a selection of ADA compliant colors as well. But there's something else here, and if you've joined us for our other workshops, you've seen this before, and it's an important step nonetheless. That is to go in and to add on headings. Headings are a great step to take for website accessibility. So that's what we're going to look at here. The reason that headings help with accessibility is they allow us to structure a page just like this and make it easier when someone's navigating the page with a screen reader. Because of that, as a general rule, when you are adding headings, you want to go in order. So I'm going to start by typing out our first heading. I'll type out, welcome to our enrollment department. So that's a good first heading there. Keeping in mind that generally we want to go in order, what I do next is I simply go in, I highlight over the text, click on the drop down, and it is our first heading. So a good fit is to go in and to set this here as heading 1. And a good thing to do every so often is to click that save button. In just a moment, what I'm going to add next is I'm going to add on some contact information. Now, in terms of how I add this, there's a few different ways I can go about doing this. I can either just add this to the same text block, but you know what? I want to give this page a little bit more of a dynamic look. Maybe I want to go in and include some photos. What we want to remember with the page editor is that when we do want to add photos, our first step is that we want to add a content block that allows for photos. And we got a few different options for this. So that's what we're going to look at next, is adding on content blocks. Now, regardless to the type of block you're adding, it's important to note the steps for adding in the content blocks are very much going to be the same. What your first step is you're just going to go in, you're going to take your mouse, you'll bring this inside of an existing block, really any existing block on the page, preferably one though that's closest to where you want your new content to ultimately end up going. Then, once I have my mouse inside of the block, I simply right click. And depending on where I want this to go, I can choose either insert above or insert below. So in this case, I'm going to go in and select insert below. And at this point, I can go in and choose from these options. So one potential option for adding contact information is to use the table. So it is an option, but I think I really want to add a photo. I think the block I'm going to use is the one with the photo on the right. So to go in, to add this page, all I do is I simply click on it, or the content block, I should say. I click on the content block, and it drops right onto the page. And now this right here is ready for me to go in, and it's ready for us to use. Now, I'm going to start by finding a great photo to go with this. This particular content block, as well as the one with the photo on the left, these both work really, really well when you're adding staff bios. But in this case, we're just going to add more of a general photo, even though we're adding contact information. But what I start with is I'm just going to go in. I can add the photo by either dragging and dropping it in, or, and this is really something here that's kind of a preference thing. What I prefer to do is just to go in and simply click on the photo. I select change image, and I find the photo that I want to go in and I want to utilize. So we'll go with a nice photo. I think in this case, we're going to use an image that, you know what, we'll use this one right here. I think it fits well with this page. Now, I've added the photo, but what I want to do too, so it's going to be more visible, I'm going to bring it further into the content area. I just go in, I'm going to expand it out a little bit. There we are. Perfect. Now, I look at these content blocks we have, and I see that the spacing between the two blocks is really not the best, but we can definitely fix that. So I want to increase the padding between our first block and our second block. And to do this, you'll always use the lower of the two blocks. What I do is I start by taking my mouse, I bring this towards the top of the lower block, Then I can bring this down by up to 20 pixels. So that's been added on. And now I want to add on the additional information that this page is going to need. So in this case, we're adding enrollment department contacts. So I'm going to start by pasting in this information. And the same thing to paste this information in, I use those keyboard commands. So we want to remember to paste, we're pressing Control V when we're using a PC. When we're using a Mac, instead, we're pressing Command V. Whoops, give that another try. There we are. And after that, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add on one more. Perfect. Now, this page is looking really, really good, but there's something more here we can do to help with accessibility. That is to add on an additional heading. We need a heading for the contact information that we have. So I'm just going to move this text down a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'll type out that next heading. So we'll type out admissions contact information. Now we want to remember that one way of adding on a heading is to think of it as though you're kind of organizing the content into subsections on the page. So keeping that in mind, but also keeping in mind that really nothing is going to go above that first little bit of content, that introductory content. A good fit for this heading is going to be to set this as heading 2. And I do that by highlighting over the text. I click on the drop down, and at that point, I can switch this over and I click save. All right, everybody. So what I want to do is I want to give you all some time to work on your very own pages. So let's go ahead, everybody. Let's take 5 minutes. What we're going to say is at 4:37 p.m. Eastern, 1:37 on the West Coast. I'm going to show you how you can get started on adding that second page. Please let me know in the meantime, everybody, if there's anything I can help with, I'll be happy to assist. Remember to ask questions. You want to be sure just to open that chat window. I'll be happy to help. Hey everybody, just about a minute to go. I do want to mention another tool that can be really quite helpful. You may notice this button, it has a rather interesting look to it. It kind of looks like an emoji. What that really is your recommendation button. So what's cool about this is you can click on that and it provides you with great suggestions on your page. What's being suggested here is that we add on alt text, and that is definitely a step that can help with website accessibility. Now, what I would do to add that alt text is I would start by going in, I right click on the image, select accessibility, and you're presented with two options. Both of these options have cases when they are the best option to use. The first option, adding on alt text, that is something you want to do when that photo contributes directly to the main content on that page. The other is to mark it as decorative. And actually, for this photo here, it's a great photo, but it definitely serves more for it's definitely here more for decorative purposes. So in that case, I mark it as decorative. And to note, marking a photo as decorative is important because what that does is it tells when someone's using a screen reader, sometimes what happens if there's no alt text, a screen reading program would try to read out the file name of the photo to make up for that. Marking it as decorative, though, that helps prevent that. So I go in and click apply, click save, click on the emoji one more time, and that's exactly what we want to see. We see here how it says our page looks good. All right, everybody. So a good thing to do right now is to make sure to click that save button. Now, let's talk about adding a second page to our new department section here. So I'm going to add a frequently asked questions section on the website for enrollment here for Green Tech. We want to remember that regardless as to the type of page that we're going in and we're adding, these first steps that I'm going to take, these are always going to be the same when we're on the page editor. So what those are is I'm going to start just by taking my mouse and I'm going to bring it just over towards this blue arrow. It's that blue arrow that's actually towards the left of the page title. Now, note too, you can absolutely use this where the page title is. You can use that to actually rename the page. But what I do to add on our new page is I'm going to click on the blue arrow. I go to this section, and what I'll do is I go in and select new page. And at that point, I can choose from any of these options. So in this case, I want to continue using that page editor. So I'm keeping it in another. I don't have to change it. And what I do is I just type out frequently asked questions. I click create page. And then what you'll see here too is that right away we're brought onto the page editor for our new page. Now, to start with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and add our content here. And I'm going to start just by pasting this in, just the same way we pasted our previous content in. So for this, we want to remember if we're using a PC, we're pressing Control-V. For Macs, we're going to press Command-V. Perfect. Now, there's still definitely work to be done here. One of the things that we need to do is we need to make sure that we go in and add on those headings. So with the headings, we'll start by adding those on. We'll add the first one, and this will kind of serve as the title of the page. In most cases, for every page you create, there's only one heading that you'll set as heading 1. So I'll start by typing out admissions frequently asked questions. Now, one way to think of adding these on is it is kind of like you are creating like these subsections of content on your page. And everything kind of nests under those different headings. So we have our first heading. It's the first one on the page. A good fit for this would be, of course, to set this as heading 1. And then actually, each of the following questions, those can also serve as additional headings as well. So what I'm going to go in and do is we have our next question. Does Green Tech High accept enrollment applications all year? So knowing that this kind of falls under the first heading, a good fit for this will be to go in and to set this as heading 2. So I highlight over the text, click on the drop down, and then I set this here as heading 2. Now, it brings up an interesting question. What about the other questions? What should we set those as? Now, I mentioned earlier that generally with headings, you want to go in and you want to go in order, but there's exceptions to that rule. So in this case, for the next 2 questions, it's actually perfectly fine to set both of these also as heading 2. So in terms of like, it's kind of in a way like a content hierarchy. These questions are on the same level of that hierarchy as our first question. So I start by highlighting over the text. I click on the drop down. I set that as heading 2. And we'll do the same for the next question as well. Perfect. And a good thing to do every so often is click Save. Now, one of the things that we might want to share on this page is what is expected of Green Tech students. Maybe we have a document for that. So let's definitely add that on. So what I'm going to do, everybody, is add on that document. We want to remember that with the page editor that we do technically have 2 different ways to add files. We have the more traditional way where we go through clicking upload files. That adds the file more or less as an attachment. The best way to do this is to create anchor text and kind of hyperlink that document. Now, just important to note when you are creating anchor text, whether it's websites or for documents, the very best thing to do is to make sure that anchor text is the exact title of that website or document. So in this case, I'm adding our Green Tech student expectations. That is going to be our anchor text. So I type out Green Tech student expectations. Then what I do next is I highlight over the text, click on the chain link icon, switch this to document, and I can either drag and drop the file, or I go in, I click select file, I find the document I want to add on, I see it, I click open. Perfect. And I click save. Now, everyone, what I want to do right now is continue giving you time to go in and to work on those pages. So let's take, we're going to say that we're going to take, sorry, I was thinking of a good amount of time. Let's take 3 minutes. And what we're going to say is at 4:48 p.m. Eastern, 1:48 on the West Coast, I'm going to show you how you can link a Google Calendar to your department calendar. Please let me know in the meantime, everybody, if there's any questions I can help with. All right, everyone. We have seen some cool stuff that we're able to do with the page editor. Now, I'm going to show you how you can link an existing Google Calendar to your calendar on your new department page. And this is a great way to be able to save some time. As a matter of fact, you can set it up so that your Google Calendar updates your department page calendar for you, and of course, vice versa as well. So first things first, we're going to go over to Google Calendars. So I look at my Google Calendar and I see that the enrollment department does have some events on here. So we have an enrollment fair that's coming up on the 16th, some campus tours as well, and then the application period is opening up for the next school year. Now, what we need to do first is we need to access the calendar. Now, to access the calendar, you actually follow the same steps you follow as if you're adding a new page with the page editor. So that means you're going to start by clicking on the blue arrow. Then you're going to go to this section, select new page, and you get the same options. But in this case, what we're doing is we're selecting calendar. I click create page. So now we've opened up the calendar, and we also have where we can add events through the CMS. But in this case, what I'm interested in using is our Google Calendar option. I'm interested in linking that Google Calendar. How you go about doing that is you go over to settings. So it is a little bit different than if you've linked your Google Calendar through like the main calendar on your site. Usually with that, you're going through a dropdown. In this case, though, instead you're clicking settings, and that'll open up our Google Calendar options for us. So we have the option to do a one-time import. However, what I'm really interested in are these automated updates. So the option that I'm going to choose is to link the Google Calendar. So I go in, I click link Google Calendar. And the nice thing is that when you are linking your Google Calendar, the system is going to essentially go in and walk you through the steps. So I choose my account, click allow. And these next two steps are very important. I want to make sure I'm choosing the correct calendar. So in this case, I'm going to select Green Tech High Enrollment Department, click Choose Calendar once more, and then I need to choose the type of link I want to set up. And there's three main options here. Push is where you're allowing for the website calendar to send updates to your Google Calendar. Pull, of course, will be just the opposite of that. That is where you're allowing for the Google Calendar to update the site calendar, but you also have the option for both. I think for this calendar, a good option in this case would be just to set it up so that only the Google Calendar updates the department calendar. So I'm selecting Pull. Then I go in, I click Create Link. And what's going to happen here is that once we've set this up, there we go. So we're going to see we have our new events. Now that's also going to mean something different here too. So now we see how we have the calendar. It's on its own separate page essentially. So I can access it to view just by clicking on that here as well. All right, everybody. So I want to give you some time to go in and to set up that link for your Google Calendar. So let's go ahead, take 3 minutes, take 4 minutes. And what we're going to say is at 4:56, and please feel free to send in any questions. At 4:56, I'm going to show you the steps that you would follow to link your new department page to the navigation. Please let me know in the meantime, everybody, if there's any questions I can help with. All right, everyone, just about a minute to go, and I'm going to show you how you can link this new section to our navigation menu. Please let me know if there's anything I can help with in the meantime. All right, everyone. So let's say that we've finished our new section. Our next step is to make sure that this is going to be as visible as possible to our website visitors. And that's to link it to navigation. Now, that being said, I always suggest that this is the last step in the process. You want to make sure your section is completely set to go. So what I'm going to do, everybody, is I'm going to go in and link this actually just under About Us. We'll have it go right at the very top of the dropdown. Now, my first step to add this on is I'm going to head over to our main menu button. Then I go to where it says Website Admin, and I'm going to select Navigation Menu. Now, once I've gone in and I've opened this up, I just want to start by finding exactly where it is I want this to go. What I do is I'm going to take my mouse, bring it, and I see I want it to go right over the top. I'm going to go in and click on the arrow that is towards the right of the window. Then what I'm going to do next, depending on where I want this to go, I'm going to choose either Add Link Above or Add Link Below. So in this case, I'm choosing Add Link Above. Here's the cool thing, though, about the navigation menu module. When you're working with this, it's very rare that you would need to fill out any of these fields manually. The only time you need to do that is if you're linking a document or you're adding a link to an outside website. In this case, I choose Find Page. And to start with, we have this drop down here. This has every section, every page, every module all mapped out. Now I look at this, I see all the modules, but what I don't see is I don't see any sections or pages. Those are here, they're just a little bit hidden. Where we're going to find our sections and pages is those will be all found under Departments. So I select Departments. And now what I'm doing is I'm looking for the enrollment section. I see this. And what we see, everybody, is how we have these fields. So those fields are all filled in. So what I want to do is click Save. But even after I've clicked Save, I'm not quite finished yet. I'm going to be prompted to test these changes. To test these changes, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the test link. We're just making sure that this goes to exactly where we want it to be. And indeed it does. All I need to do now to actually save this change is click Apply. Now I go in and I refresh my screen. We go over to About Us and I select Enrollment. And we can see that we've successfully linked our new department page. All right, everybody. So at this time, I want to thank you all so much for taking the time out of your busy days to join us here for our all new workshop, create or actually build a new department page. My name is Ryan Clancy. I'm the Client Success Manager here. Definitely, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out. I have my direct phone number as well as my email address. Keep an eye out tomorrow. I am planning on sending this recording out, so definitely keep an eye out for that, as well as some additional resources to help you get started with your new department page. Everybody, keep inspiring those future generations. I look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon. Take care, everybody.